it was a thing, right? So every year, the women from the desert, the Bedu, any of the women who had children, who bore children, means they're able to breastfeed.
Yes.
So they come into
City.
the city, and they now begin to knock on doors, and essentially to any women who have, from the noble and the rich that have children, to say, hey, we're offering our service.
Yeah. Send your kid back with us.
Yep.
We'll raise them to be tough dudes, right? And then we'll bring them back at what, like probably the age of 2, 3, 4, I don't know.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Bring them back when like they're a little bit more mature, and you get what you wanted. We're essentially the boarding school.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, I see.
Yeah.
And so with the Prophet ﷺ, from what I understand, it was a complication because he wasn't coming from money.
He's technically coming from a noble lineage.
Noble lineage, but there's no one to pay for him since his father passed away. Okay.
Yeah, and his grandfather has like 10, 12 kids, and they have their kids.
Yeah.
So it's like they knew they weren't going to be getting money.
Like a lot of money.
Yeah.
So they avoided what they called the orphan child. And they eventually felt bad that everyone else was going back with kids. And Halima at the time was like to her husband, I don't want to go back without someone. So let's just take the orphan child. Yeah.
So the husband tells her, let's just take the orphan child.
No, he mentioned that. Okay.
Yeah. Like maybe we'll be blessed for the sake of taking one of the orphan children, essentially. So even his thought process was to say like, hey, hey, it's an orphan child. Like maybe we can, get some good deeds, essentially, kind of type thing.
Because they still believed in God.
Yeah.
They still believed in God. They worshipped idols as like intercessors.
Yeah. So then eventually they come up with that. Halima ends up having and taking the Prophet ﷺ, and the moment, this is Halima saying that essentially the moment we took the Prophet ﷺ, we noticed blessings in everything that we were doing. So even the beast that we were riding, going back to the village, all of a sudden had a more pep in its step, felt stronger, right?
I see.
As soon as they went into their home area, they only had one, I believe it was a cow or I think one sheep that didn't have milk. But the moment Prophet ﷺ stepped into the area, all of a sudden it was just full. The udders were just full of milk, right? So she was just saying, she was noticing all these different things. So subhanAllah, what ends up happening is now it's time to go back and give the children back to their parents. And at this point, Prophet ﷺ, maybe a year and a half, 2 years. And that's typically when they give them back. But Halima in that time had noticed so many things going good after good. Like just she's being blessed. So she was telling the Prophet ﷺ's mother, like, hey, just leave him with me. I'll take care of him. We want to make sure that, he's that he stays away from any of like the diseases in the city and yada, 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 right?
Yeah.
Essentially trying to convince her.
To keep him.
Yeah. So his mom, Amina, is like, oh my, like she really cares about him and so on. So she's like, sure.
Send him back temporarily for another X amount of years.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And it comes back. And then when does his mom pass away?
She passes away when Prophet ﷺ was 6. And right before that, at the age of 4, which is huge, the Prophet ﷺ actually had open heart surgery at 4.
Oh, yes.
So Angel Jibreel, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sends Angel Jibreel to literally open the chest of the Prophet ﷺ, take out his heart, and remove a sliver of like black, which was essentially what the shaitan uses to whisper to us. And that was a means of cleansing the Prophet ﷺ from anything that shaitan could do to him, right? And we believe this wholeheartedly. It's mentioned in the Quran, it's referenced in the Quran, it's mentioned in ahadith. Like this isn't something that any mashayikh are like, oh, if, ands, or buts about it. And there was even a scar, right? And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala could have easily not had a scar show up on the chest of the Prophet ﷺ, but it's to show like, no, this was actually physical. This was no like, oh, spiritual type cleansing or what have you, right?
Oh, I see.
That was a crazy story. Like that in and of itself is like an amazing